Through the years of Formula 1, there have been many legendary drivers. Wait, you're saying I don't have to do a Kiwi accent for a Mahaveer Raghunathan video to bang? Alright, wheel it back. Through the years of Formula 1, there have been many legendary drivers. Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Jim Clark, Gilles Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton. The list goes on. It is a sport of the elite variety, a competition featuring the greatest of the world's drivers. Now it's time for a new era of racer to emerge, an era featuring one almost mythical individual. Lord Mahaveer Raghunathan. You see, it takes a lot of skill to have the chance to drive a Formula 1 car for one of its official teams in a season, but it takes infinitely more skill to get that chance when you can't actually drive a car. This is a completely different level of driver. Mahaveer is not the sort of driver to feel the car as if it's an extension of his body. No, he doesn't have that luxury. Whereas other top drivers have a well-trained racehorse beneath them, Mahaveer has a violent stallion, and yet here he is, driving an Alfa Romeo around the Hungaroring alongside arguably Junior Formula's most promising talent in Theo Pourchaire. So just how did he get here? Let's go back to the start. Raghunathan got into karting in 2012 at 13 years of age. This was quite an old age to start karting, and Mahaveer knew, with his high level of racing intellect, that he had some catch up to do. So at the same time as he started karting, he also tried his hand in open wheel racing, quite the ambition. He would race in the JK Racing Asia Series at the start, which does not actually stand for Just Kidding This Isn't Racing Asia Series, which disappointed me greatly. He only raced as a guest driver for the last round in India, which was a biggie with 4 races in one round, but he would go on to retire from the first 2 of those races and go on to finish, well, last in the other 2. Okay, so not a great start. He would get a chance though in the MRF Challenge Formula 1600 Championship, where he finished in 6th place with 80 points. A step in the right direction. No, hang on. That was out of 6 competitors. Oh god. Well, on the plus side, he'd been given a seat for the final race of the 2013 Formula Masters China Series in Shanghai with KCMG. So 3 races to show something. Mahaveer finished 14th, 15th and 12th. No points, but looking on the bright side, and you really have to do that quite a lot here, not last in any of the races. This was a very, very tiny step in the right direction. Now you wouldn't be the only one to think that's really it for Raghunathan's career, and that no way would he get a drive in a Premier Junior Formula Championship over in, let's say, Italy. So Mahaveer Raghunathan got an Italian F4 Championship drive with F&M, which we can only assume stands for finances and money, the only thing needed for a seat in their car. So a driver who struggled to get off the bottom of competitions in his native continent, now moving to a premier competition in Europe featuring the likes of Lance Stroll and Robert Schwartzman. I think we all know where this is going. Lord Mahaveer finished 12th with 45 points. What? Where did that come from? Alright, it's not a world-beating drive, but it's 12th out of 24 competitors. Maybe there is actually some talent in there. Well, after a few practice races in the 2014 MRF Challenge Formula 2000 series, where he would go on and score 5 points, it was off to a real challenge, the F3 European Championship. The 2015 F3 European Championship was a series like no other, with elite young future F1 drivers like Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Lance Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi, Alex Albon, and even high-level competitors in other series like Felix Rosenqvist, Max Günther, Jake Dennis, Pietro Fittipaldi and Callum Isler, amongst many others. This was a series for Raghunathan to show himself amongst the top of youth formula. He'll be racing for Motopark alongside Sergio Sett Camara, Nabil Jeffrey and Marcus Pommer, and I imagine he will be aiming to compete in and around that top 10, really putting the pressure on bigger drivers. So where did he finish? Hang on, is there a typing error here? 39th? Well, that's his career over then, surely. But alas, it was not his career over yet. with a few appearances in Masters of Formula 3, which was definitely stretching its name at this point, the Euro Formula Open Championship, and the Formula Renault 2.0 Alps Series, Mahavir had future plans, and one of those future plans was in a series called AutoGP. The 2016 AutoGP Championship lasted, well, one race before merging with an entity called Boss GP, awful name. And so Raghunathan, who did compete in that first race and got second and third, got those wiped off and got transferred over to Boss GP. Here he'd finish in 5th place in the driver's standings in the Formula class, which is the class that says stop racing in F1 cars because it's completely unfair, which Boss GP would allow certain competitors to race in F1 cars. It was a stupid series. But with the solid showing in that series that was only watched by about 6.5 people, Mahavir would get to try it again. This time ready to actually compete in the series called Boss GP and not the series called AutoGP, Mahavir would show his true form, his lordship. He would win the championship. I know, it brings a tear to my eye too. But fair play, he actually won a series here. Mahavir was the boss of Boss GP, and boy would he get rewarded in due course. After a year out in 2018, aside from a random single endurance race at Paul Ricard, Mahaveer Raghunathan would be an F2 driver in 2019. These were heights that he would never really expected when he first started, but this season will forever go down in infamy as the worst single season of an F2 driver, well, ever. He finished 20th, with infamous moments such as heroics into Sandoval and failing his driving test at Baku. It really was a spectacle to watch, truly. He'd even managed to get a race ban for Austria just 6 rounds into the season, and should really have had a second ban for the Abu Dhabi GP, which he only didn't because of some loopholes. It was calamitous, but he persevered and managed to score a solitary point at Monza thanks to, well, an awful lot of incidents. He may not have the skill, but the guts to go out there for the entertainment of the world alone just shows what Mahavir is about. After that season, Mahavir would find himself out of motorsport. Who knows why? Maybe he just needed a rest. He would take part in a few esports events, racing alongside the likes of Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris and Mr. Dead Trim himself, FNG, but like the legend he is, a mythical creature, he vanished into thin air. Until now. Yes, you see that correctly. Mahaveer Raghunathan driving an Alfa Romeo. Whether this was a bit of a publicity stunt, or whether Mahavir walked in with an absolute shed load of cash, I don't know. This is me a little bit later, I found out I do know it was a shed load of cash. He did set a time around 2 seconds slower than Pourchaire, which, considering the levels of difference between them, is actually not that bad. Though I do see medium tyres on one car and softs on the other, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The real question though is where to next for Mahaveer Raghunathan. He is a living meme now, and although he has bundles of money, is he ever going to get a proper racing chance again? Part of me does sort of hope so, just to see the situations he ends up in, but then the sensible part of me hopes not. There is a fine line between something silly and dangerous in motor racing, and he skirts that line very closely. For the safety of the grid, no matter what series he is racing in, I do hope Mahavir finds something more up his alley for the future. Maybe something like knitting or chess or Cluedo. You know, take your pick. Something just a bit less risky than motor racing. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what you think of Mahaveer Raghunathan racing in an Alfa Romeo, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helped out. I will see you guys in the next video though, and it's been lovely to talk to you, and peace.